legislative, virus-free voter education, no mask or social distancing required forum. At this time, I'm glad we can do this forum without a mask. We've all had to wear that. At this time, I would like to introduce my co-host for today. Ellen Lundquist has been active in Maui's disability community since she moved here from Los Angeles in early 2006. She has chaired the Maui Disability Alliance since 2017 and notably came up with the idea for Ohana Feud back when we were able to meet in person. She was the co-leader for the self-help group for the National MS Society. She is the secretary for the Maui Independent Living Center and for the Paratransit Advisory Committee. Ellen is also involved with the Maui Willers and a member of St. John's Episcopal Church in Keokea. Mahalo.
Ellen here. Finally, okay. It is my pleasure to introduce Karen Alohilani Hugh-Singh. Hugh-Singh, who has been an advocate for persons with disabilities since 1982, when she became a quadriplegic wheelchair user. She is the co-founder and facilitator of the Maui Wheelers Support Group. She believes in volunteerism and currently serves as a board member with the Legal Aid Society of Hawaii and the Kelea Foundation. Being a tutu of two mo'opuna has helped her get through the stay-at-home orders. Mahalo.
Mahalo, Ellen. Alohilani speaking. Ellen, we're in this together, so we've got each other's backs.
Yes, we rock. And there's a whole team behind us that makes this forum possible. I have Rochelle from Easter Seal helping me today. Mahalo, Ro.
Aloha, this is Alohilani. I have Pualani with me today as my kokua. Mahalo nui, Pualani. We want to give some information, some instructions early on so everyone can enjoy the forum. There is closed captioning or video transcript available. Look for closed captioning options on your video device. There are 2 ASL interpreters who will switch throughout the forum. Akaku Channel 54 and Akaku Facebook are broadcasting live today. Interpreters are pinned to the screen for viewing ease with these 2 options. On September 30th, Maui Disability Alliance held our first virtual forum with the Maui County Council's candidates. We received lots of positive feedback. You can watch the replay of this forum on the DD Council Facebook page, Akaku Facebook, or Akaku Channel 54. Hundreds, if not thousands of viewers will be able to see today's forum the same way. And actually, I apologize, but it will not be on the DD Council Facebook page, but go to Akaku Facebook. Mahalo.
Ellen speaking. Nearly 25 years ago, the Hawaii State Council on Developmental Disabilities hosted a gathering of parents and individuals with developmental disabilities to talk story with legislators about the needs of their community. This took place at the Maui State Building. Over time, the realization that while people with disabilities may have vastly different individual needs, there is much common ground. The Maui Disability Alliance was formed to harness the common ground that of people with disabilities in Maui County. The Maui Disability Alliance, or MDA, represents agencies, organizations, and individuals who value the contributions people with disabilities make to the Maui community. Candidates, thank you for participating this year as we host this virtual forum. The community has sent in questions for you to answer to help us determine who gets our vote. Think of this as a job interview. Mahalo.
Alohilani here. I think this might be one of your most important job interviews for sure. At this time, I would like to introduce Pualani Basbas, a longtime member of MDA's Planning Committee, who will give today's blessing. Mahalo. Let me roll back and Pualani will roll in.
Pulikako. Our Father in heaven, we're grateful for this opportunity to be here for our Maui Disability Alliance Legislative Forum. We're indeed grateful for all the hands that have come together to make this possible. We're grateful for Ellen Alohalani and for Travis, as well as for Roxanne and all of those that are here today, and especially for the different organizations and agencies that had made this possible. We're grateful for the candidates that are here this evening. We're grateful for our audience, and we're grateful for Akaku and being able to meet together, especially during these times as a community, and to learn more about our representatives. We ask thee for thy spirit to be with us as we move forward. We're grateful for all that we have. We love thee and say these things in the name of our Savior, Jesus Christ, amen.
Ellen speaking. Mahalo, Pualani. Here are the ground rules for today's forum. Mute yourself when you're not talking. Remember to unmute yourself before speaking. Please say your name before you speak, and say thank you or mahalo when you're done speaking to indicate you are finished. You will be given specific amount of time to answer each question. Once your time is done, you will be muted. Candidates will alternately be called on by myself or Elohilani. Zoom audience members will have the opportunity to participate in audience polls. Mahalo.
Alohilani here. Aloha and mahalo for being here today. We have U.S. House Congressional District 2 candidates, Hawaii State Senate candidates, and Hawaii State House candidates participating in our virtual forum. At this time, we would like for you to introduce yourself. You have 30 seconds to give us your name, your district, and why you're running for office. We will alternately call on candidates. Actually, let's go ahead and give you 60 seconds. Let's start with, I see Senator Kai Kahele joined us from the Democratic Party. Let us know how you want us to address you. Welcome, Kai. Mahalo.
Hey, thank you. Yes, you can address me as Kai, and mahalo to the Maui Disability Alliance for giving all of us this opportunity to appear before you today. My name is Kai Kahele. I'm here in Hilo, Hawaii. I am a Democratic State Senator representing Senate District 1 here on Hawaii Island. I've been in the State Senate since 2016, appointed by Governor Ige after my father, the late State Senator Gilbert Kahele, passed away in office. I currently chair the Water and Land Committee. I am the majority floor leader in the Hawaii State Senate. I have chaired the Higher Education Committee, and I've been on the Ways and Means Committee for the last 3 years. I'm also a lieutenant colonel, a 20-year combat veteran of the Hawaii Air National Guard. I'm also an airline pilot with Hawaiian Airlines, and I've been a pilot for 10 years. I live here in Hilo with my wife, Maria, and our 3 daughters. I have a 16-year-old Alea and a 6-year-old Iolana, and my little baby girl, my 4-year-old Namaka. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Let's go now to the Libertarian candidate Michelle Tippins.
Aloha, everybody. My name is Michelle Tippins. I'm the Libertarian candidate this year. Thank you guys very much for having us. I really appreciate you inviting everybody. I know that you worked really hard to get everybody to participate in this forum, like all the available candidates. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time out for that. As far as me as a candidate, I represent Congressional District 2 for the U.S. Federal House. I shouldn't say I represent because I don't have the office yet, but that's the office that I'm running for, is that district. I'm running for office because I feel, along with my party, that the liberty and justice for all has kind of disappeared a little bit in our government. As far as qualifications for the office, I worked as a counterintelligence agent for the U.S. Army. I was also an Arabic linguist, so I speak Arabic, which means I can lend something to the foreign affairs of our country. I've also been trained in diplomacy. Thank you for having me.
Mahalo. Alohilani here. Next is Republican Party, Joe Akana.
Aloha, everyone. Mahalo for inviting me, and I appreciate the opportunity that you have given us, everyone out here as well. I thank you, each and every one of you guys that actually participate and are out here. People ask me a little bit about myself. What is my history? Where have I been at? I was in the military for 10 years after I graduated from Kamehameha schools as an Air Force, as an intelligence analyst. Got out of that and said, I'm going to go do the corporate world thing. Did that for about 10 years, working at AT&T, GMAC, as well as several other corporate ventures, and then decided to go back into working at civil service at Camp Smith, headquarters, U.S. Pacific Command for 15 years, where I was retired last year. I have a master's degree in business as well as a master's degree in strategic intelligence. And why am I running? Well, I think the most important thing we have to understand is we have no balance in the state. We have no balance in the state legislature. We have no balance in the federal legislature. And there has been for 50 years. We need to make it pono.
Thank you, Joe. Let's go now to Ron Burris, the nonpartisan candidate.
Aloha, everyone. My name is Ron Burris. I'm the independent nonpartisan candidate for the U.S. Congressional District 2 of Hawaii. The reason that I got into politics, it's been a study of my life, most of my life, from college on, and I'm tired of business as usual. I think we have all of these problems that we have, but nobody wants to do anything about them. I guess nobody can hear me. I don't know. I'm not hearing you. I see Ellen talking, but I don't hear her. So I don't know if anybody can hear me or not.
Yes, we can hear you, Ron.
Okay.
We can hear you.
I grew up in Texas, involved in college athletics, track and field, and have a degree in political science and also a sports management certificate from Columbia University. And thank you again so much for allowing us this platform for the NDA, and greatly appreciate that and glad to participate. Mahalo.
Thank you. We're gonna go now to the state Senate seat for District 5, which includes Wailuku, Waihe'e, and Kaului. We have Christy Kajiwara Guzman from the Republican Party here. Introduce yourself, please.
Aloha mai kako, everyone. My name is Christy Kajiwara Guzman, and as Ellie said, I'm running for the Hawaii State Senate District 5, which encompasses all of Central Maui. I am married to my husband, Kimo. This month actually makes 14 years. We have 4 children and 2 grandchildren. And I have lived here in Maui in Waihe'e Valley for the last 20 years. My family and I run a small farming and ranching operation. We're known for our local honey products here and our grass-fed beef. I also run a small environmental consulting company. I do specialize in hazardous materials, lead, mold, asbestos, things like that. And I am currently employed as the Environmental Services Director for Halimakua Health Systems in Kahului. One of the reasons that I chose to run, as Joel was saying previously, is to bring balance back to the Hawaii State Legislature. And at this time, there is no other state senator with a farming background. So I want to bring that diversity and have farmers have a seat at the table.
Mahalo, Christy. Aloha, Alohilani speaking. Now we're going to State House District 9, Kahului, Pu'unene, Old Sand Hills, Maui Lani. Representative Justin Woodson from the Democratic Party. Please introduce yourself.
Aloha, thank you, Alohilani. Thank you so much for the opportunity. My name is Justin Woodson. People normally just call me Just. I've served in the capacity as representative for Central Maui, which is Kahului, Pu'unene, Old Sand Hills, and Maui Lani, as was mentioned. And I currently have the honor and privilege of serving as chairman for the Committee on Lower and Higher Education, which includes pre-kindergarten, daycare, K through 12, and higher education. And I also serve in the capacity as Majority Whip. I am running for re-election because I believe that through politics, you really can induce change for the better. It takes all of us to participate, but I enjoy the opportunity to be a part of these discussions. So thank you again for having me, and thank you for putting on this forum. Aloha.
Thank you. Let's go now to District 10, which includes West Maui, Ma'alea, and North Kihei. Let's go to Travis Gilstrand from the Aloha Aina Party.
Aloha, my name is Travis Gilstrand, and I am your Aloha Aina Party candidate for State Representative District 10, which covers beautiful West Maui, Ma'alaya, and a portion of North Kihei. I decided to run for public office to spark solutions and legislation that protects the land, water, and people of Hawaii, while creating a bridge for the next generations to thrive. Thank you for your time, and thank you for having me. Mahalo.
Aloha, this is Alohilani speaking. Next is Representative Angus McKelvey from the Democratic Party.
Hi, aloha everybody. Can you hear me? We're good. Thank you so much for having me. You know, it's just looking back at the slide in the very beginning, you know, we've known each other for a long time, the members of the disability community. And it's funny, back in 2008, when we had the last recession, I remember the challenges really fell hardest on our disabled community. Life is tough already in Hawaii for our citizens, and no more so than it is for members of our disabled community. I'm running again because now more than ever facing a $4 billion deficit and tough choices ahead, to be there to fight for everybody in Maui, Lahaina, and especially people of our disabled and veterans community, so they don't become the casualties in an effort to chase the hole in our budget. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Looking forward to the conversation, and aloha from Lahaina.
Mahalo. Now this is Alohilani speaking. We'd like to go to District 11, Kihei Wailea McKenna. Representative Tina Wildberger from the Democratic Party. Please introduce yourself.
Aloha, Tina Wildberger speaking. I want to say thanks to Ellen and Alohilani for hosting us this evening. Maui Disability Alliance events are one of my favorite to attend, and I'm sorry we're not, are we playing Family Feud this year? I'm sorry if we're not. But thank you for hosting. I am South Maui State House Rep incumbent for the Democratic Party for South Maui. I came into this office as an environmental activist and advocate, and have broadened my scope of work to include essential wages for essential workers. As a small business owner, I have been paying a $15 minimum wage to my entry-level workers since 2015, and continue that message into this next session that all of our essential workers deserve an essential wage. And that includes our disabled community who are working, they also deserve a living wage. So happy to continue this work with the good grace of the voters of South Maui. I ask.
Alohilani, I am having a script problem. If you could continue.
All right. Aloha, Alohilani speaking. We're now going to District 13, which comprises of Ha'iku, Hana, Kaupo, Kipohulu, Nahiku, Paia, Kaho'olawe, Lanai, Molokai, and Molokini. Next, I'd like for Teresa Kapaku from the Aloha Aina Party to please introduce yourself.
Aloha mai kako. My name is Teresa Kapaku, and I am your Aloha Aina candidate for our beautiful Canoe District, number 13. I do live in beautiful Kipahulu, East Maui. I am a mother, I'm a farmer, and I'm a businesswoman. I'm running this year to protect our Hawaii, protect our natural resources, protect our small businesses, our farmers, and to create green jobs. My experience is unique and versatile. As a farmer, I grow, supply, and manage to distribute organic, chemical-free produce to our community. As a businesswoman, I co-founded a company that helped the state, cities, and school districts save millions of dollars in utility expenses, implement renewable energy, and reduce their carbon footprints. I'm confident that my unique set of experiences suits me well for District 13. Mahalo.
Aloha, Alohilani speaking here. Next is Representative Lindy Coit from the Democratic Party. Mahalo.
Hi, aloha. I am Lindy Coit. I live on the island of Molokai. I represent District 13, which is the only canoe district. I've been representing that district for the past 6 years. I am a farmer and a rancher. I am the vice chair of agriculture, and I've been continuing to advocate and provide funding via legislature to all farmers. I believe all farmers know best what they're doing. I'm also a small business person. One of my priorities when we first got started was also about disabilities. We created the first job reverse fair that I did with First Lady Dawn Ige, and want to make sure that that is being put forward for all of Hawaii. And I look forward to being able to continue to advocate for not just disabilities, but for all people across the state of Hawaii. And my main interest here is to make sure that they get the same resources and services that all of urban Honolulu has. Mahalo.
Ellen, how are you doing?
I have the next, you introducing the first question.
All right. Thank you, candidates. All right, audience, it is your turn. We would like to poll our Zoom audience. The question is, have you decided who gets your vote for U.S. House, State Senate, and State House positions? Yes or undecided? Countdown begins. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. We're going to close the poll. And here are the results. Yes, 36%, undecided, 64%. Remember, candidates, your answers today may determine who gets your vote. Mahalo.
And speaking, candidates, here's your first question. What experiences do you have with people who have disabilities, and how will that assist you with addressing your specific need, our specific needs? Let's start with Representative Linda Coit. You have 60 seconds. Your time starts when you begin to speak.
I thank you, Ellen, and I appreciate that question. I think one of the specific things that we worked on, personal relationships with disabilities in my own family, was the Medicaid buy-in program. I think the Medicaid buy-in program was huge. There were people that weren't allowed to work. There was a cap put on that, and we were able to make sure that the Medicaid buy-in would be a part of making sure that those with disabilities had that opportunity to continue to work above and beyond, and also be part of the state of Hawaii's Able Savings Program that we also help to support, hoping that we'll continue to make sure that those benefits are allowed to all. Mahalo.
Okay, let's go now to Teresa Kapaku.
Aloha and mahalo for the question. One of my first jobs when I entered the workforce was working as a certified nursing assistant in a Medicare ward in a hospital. And a lot of our clients were disabled through strokes, heart attacks. And I realized at that time that it wasn't just the elderly that were going through this. It was people of all ages, all races, and all backgrounds. So by caring for them personally, I got an in-depth and intimate relationship of what it's like to go through on a day-to-day basis from morning to night, open till close, that, you know, we had to live that 24/7 life cycle with these people. And it really did put me in a position to be very intimate with the situation and very sympathetic. So I hope to use the experiences that I learned about the disability community and pass legislature that helps to ensure that we all thrive.
Mahalo. This is Alohilani speaking. Next is Representative Tina Wildberger.
Aloha, this is Tina Wildberger speaking. Thank you again for inviting all of us. My very personal experience, close call with permanent disability happened when I was 15, but by the grace of God go I, on 2 feet upright. I could easily be a quadriplegic in a wheelchair after a cervical fracture of my neck when I was in a diving accident. So I promised when I was able to walk on 2 feet that I would work and do the work to help people that are less fortunate than me, who have challenges that need to be addressed. And that's why I'm here tonight. I want to be able to be an ability advocate. Thank you.
Mahalo. This is Alohilani. Next is Representative Angus McKelvey.
Thank you so much. I've been so blessed to work with, all different members of the disabled community and their advocacy, especially the legislature. They do a disability awareness day at the Capitol. It's one of my favorite days, when everybody comes out to talk to us and share their concerns about what they want funded, about services and programs that are important to them, and really to give us a window into how tough it can be to be in Hawaii and to get a break, to be able to compete with everybody else and have a fair shake. And, one of the things I'm hoping we can do this year, we worked on the past last year, is to look at a tax credit for people who hire members of the disabled community and keep them on payroll for over a year. It's something we worked on before and we couldn't make it happen. And I'm hoping this year that we can. But, it's through those kinds of advocacy efforts, both here in Lahaina and the community, as well as the Capitol, I've really gotten to know everybody, and their hearts are amazing and their stories are truly inspiring. So thank you.
Let's go now to Travis Gilstrand.
Travis Gilstrand here. Besides my 96-year-old grandmother being in a wheelchair, my father has also been in a wheelchair for the past 12 years. So I've really learned the importance of accessibility, and also the importance of accessibility not only to restaurants and hotels, certain things like that, but also restrooms. He has a really hard time when he uses showers, things like that. And it's very important, and it's really something that is close to me. And I see the challenges daily when we're out, and I just would like to make a difference in that. And also transportation too. It's really hard for transportation to get around. Thank you.
Mahalo. Aloha, this is Alohilani speaking. Next is Representative Justin Woodson.
Well, thank you again for the opportunity. I think we all have personal stories, but like Representative McKelvey, I really do enjoy every single year, or for those that don't know, we have an opportunity to speak with members of our community through the Disability Awareness Day. That is a very rich conversation that happens at the state legislature, and it affords us the opportunity to really understand how people with disabilities are impacted by our laws, and also about our interactions within the community. And so as a result of some of the laws that came out of those discussions are, as an example off the top of my head, last year we passed a bill to make sure that there is in fact closed captioning in movie theaters. And we said by statute, if you want to run a movie theater in the state of Hawaii, you have to have closed captioning on a certain amount of every single. Oh, that was very fast. Okay, guess I'll leave it there. Thank you.
All right, let's go now to Christy Guzman.
Aloha mai once again. So for those of you who don't know me or may not be familiar with me, I have always been involved in the senior programs and other programs here in Maui County and throughout the state of Hawaii, actually. As I mentioned earlier, one of the roles that I used to do was every so many months we'd get invited to go out to Lahaina or to the different centers and participate with bingo. And all the participants used to fight over my honey. They all wanted to win. But, you know, personally, I've dealt with this a long time, all my life. My middle son does have a learning disability. And so it's been a challenge for us. And then moving on in my career to work for Halemakua, you know, I get to see the needs every day. And honestly, I don't see it as a disability anymore. I call it an ability, because every one of these people that I work with each day has a special way of doing something. And I think providing more opportunities for people, especially during the pandemic, it's really hard to see what people can do. So I want to focus on that.
Thank you. Let's go now to the U.S. House candidates. And let's start first with nonpartisan Ron Burris.
Hi, Ron Burris here. From my personal experience as a primary caregiver of my best friend, I feel like I have a great foundation to be an advocate in Washington, D.C. for folks with disabilities and impairments in Hawaii. I care for my best friend who had porphyria and also acute PTSD that's morphed into DID. So it's very complex, a lot of issues to deal with. And it's given me a great platform or experience, if you will, to be able to understand what people suffer with and help them live better lives, more fulfilling lives, and access to everything else that us normals have. And that's it. Thank you. Mahalo.
Aloha. Next is Joe.
Aloha, everyone. Joe Akana. Yes, my personal experiences with disabilities is I was actually diagnosed with a disability in 2018, which actually forced my early retirement from civil service at that time. I was diagnosed with a thing called giant cell arteritis, and it's essentially the swelling of the arteries into my brain. People have wondered how it is that there are many days when I went through it that if you guys have ever experienced migraine headaches, imagine having a migraine headache in every part of your brain and every part of your head all at the same time. I'm fortunate enough, I've been blessed to have some great medication that came along just in time, and I was able to work through that process. My grandson is also autistic, and he's getting some the help he needs as well up in Iowa where he lives now. But the greatest thing we can do, and I can look at what I can get done, is to streamline the processes. My issues that I had to go through in order to get to the point we expired took over 8 months. Mahalo.
Thank you. Let's now go to Libertarian Michelle Tippins.
Aloha, Michelle Tippins here. Okay, I wrote down notes so I wouldn't run over. Hopefully I can make it through. So my personal experience with disability began when I was about 6 years old to my first memory. My uncle, my favorite uncle, had a car accident. He was in a 3-month-long persistent coma. When he woke up, he had lost about 6 years of his life and wanted to hold my little brother who was 5. He thought he was an infant. He had to do a complete recovery. He still lives with partial paralysis. So I grew up with the awareness of accessibility issues and just limitations that can be put in front of, well, I shouldn't call it limitations, but obstacles that are put in front of people that others without these restrictions don't see this obstacle the same way we do.
Michelle, you muted yourself.
Oh, can you hear me again? Okay.
Yes.
So sorry about that. So my personal experience then led into 2001. I had a car accident and fractured a few vertebrae. I have prosthetic discs in my neck now at C4-5 and C5-6. I also crushed my sternum and my rib cage. So now I surf adaptively. Mahalo.
Aloha.
Thank you.
Senator Kai Kahele.
Thank you. You know, my personal experience is even before I became a state senator, after I graduated from UH Manoa with a degree in education, I went into the DOE system as a teacher and as a substitute teacher specifically. And I often had to deal with and work together with children with disabilities in the classroom and the unequal access to educational resources that they had. You know, oftentimes students with disabilities receive education in segregated classrooms, and that was something that I had to deal with. The other thing I did was building a community center down in South Kona. I worked very closely with the Disability Communications Access Board to provide ADA access to people that would utilize the facility.
Thank you. Ellen here. Now I would like to invite Travis Urianza, the legislative liaison for the Hawaii Self-Advocacy Advisory Council, to ask a question. Mahalo.
Aloha. Thanks, Ellen. My question, can everybody hear me? My question to the candidates is how will you support the COVID-19 relief legislation to help with to help support the Medicaid program and for community-based and at-home services. Thank you.
Here. Thank you, Travis. Let's start with Justin Woodson.
Hey, thank you, Ellen. You know, what's happening not only here in Maui in the state of Hawaii, but across the country is huge gaps in funding because of this pandemic. And so it's very important that we receive actually help from the federal government. Unfortunately, discussions have stopped as of yesterday. We hope that cooler heads will prevail and people can get back together. I wholeheartedly, as I imagine everyone on this panel does, support robust funding for our states and for our local governments, because looking at some of the budget deficits, there's no way that we're going to actually be able to get through this pandemic without that additional federal support. So I am enthusiastically supporting that we receive more additional funding from the federal government to help us address all of our needs as it relates to COVID. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's go now to our next State House candidate, Travis Gilstrand. You have 60 seconds. Your time begins when you begin to speak.
Travis Gilstrand here. Kind of touching on what Justin said. It's going to definitely take some borrowing, we'll say, from the federal side to kind of hash over the spending and what we're going to need to do the certain things that need to be done. I, for one, would like to see more of the small businesses and farmers get funds. Also, we can't forget about the people who have been working nonstop during this whole thing. I don't feel like we're doing enough for the essential workers. Also, there is a great resource, www.hawaiidata.org, that actually showcases where the money now is going. And it's been a great resource to see how it's being spent. I would also like to see more transparency on the whole COVID pandemic as well. Mahalo.
Aloha. Representative Angus McKelvey, please.
Okay, thank you so much. Again, Rep. Woodson, yeah, he kind of stole the thunder. We need federal help and support big time. We need a HEROES Act. And I plead with my good friends who are running for Congress right now, because without federal support, we can't print our own money. Without the ability to get that kind of support, there are going to be a lot of important social safety net programs, some of which have been touched upon already, that could be at risk. We know the governor has the ability to borrow from the municipal loan fund. There's been apprehension because we have to pay it back in 3 years, but I'm hoping with support from the feds, we can get that either deferred or forgiven, in which case then I believe the governor will have the ability to borrow in order for us to shore up our social service programs. Thank you again. Mahalo.
Aloha. Next is Representative Tina Wildberger.
Thank you, Tina Wildberger speaking. I want to keep in mind that while we face this economic crisis, that we don't attack it in a defeated posture. We have the opportunity to reimagine our economy. We have the opportunity to manage tourism. We have the opportunity to invest in clean energy. We have the opportunity to reshape how our government functions. So I hope that people that are making decisions and collaborating and working on solutions can come together and define where our hardship is and make sure that we don't leave anybody behind. We have to keep our most vulnerable communities in mind as we transition into a clean energy economy and into a more diversified economy. But we can do this. It is going to be difficult. It's going to be a 2 to 3 to 5 year slog, and we are dependent on whether we get funding from the federal government. Mahalo.
Ellen here. Let's go now to Teresa Kapaku.
Hi, mahalo. As this deals a lot with our budget and our budget shortfalls, as well as the economic situation that we're faced with during this COVID-19, it is all about finding the money. Whether we do, we should, and we will attack it from multiple perspectives. One is, of course, seeking the money from the federal government. 2, possibly tapping into any other loans and bonds and resources that we might have there. But also, I believe that there's a lot of money that we already have that's maybe being allocated to inefficient places within our state, and that we can carve some of the budget to make sure that we're prioritizing for our disabled community, not just saying that we will do it later, but where is the money and how do we find it now and today, and stop making promises to our disabled community. That's a nice bike my neighbor has there. But in any case, I believe that where there's a will, there's a way, and we can find it.
Aloha. Next is Representative Lindy Coit.
I thank you for that question. First of all, of course, the federal government has provided funding, again, as an island state outside of the mainland US. I think creativity behind it. We talk a lot about sustainability. We have to learn to get creative about how those funds are managed. Again, we depend a lot on businesses here. Those businesses have been put a lot of pressure on. So we as businesses have gotten creative ourselves and have funded some of these things that are needed. But again, doing our part and making sure that we continue to keep our distance, wash our hands, wear a face mask is key. So all the funding that is there and supplies that are still there with HAIMA to make sure we help get into the homes of those with disabilities, I think we have to look at what we have right in front of us before we start making more loans and start to raise taxes, which is what it's really going to come down to. Again, I don't believe in making so now the question.
Ellen here. Let's go now to State Senate candidate Christy Guzman.
Aloha. So I guess sometimes it helps to read the junk mail that your boss sends you, but I happen to know that the Center for Medicaid Medicare Services, CMS, has recently, or actually since March, we've been getting updates daily at Halemakua, and I just happen to know that they have made it easier. There are waiver applications and stuff that you folks can fill out. I don't know if it's either through your healthcare provider or exactly how they do it, but we have provided for things such as with the change, especially during this time, technology, home visits, things like that, meals that are delivered. They've also gotten a lot more relaxed on some of the coverage limits and the things that they are currently allowing, for example, family who are caregivers to people. So I intend to, go on that and continue to support it to the best of my ability. A lot of how to get the information across to people. So I think that's awesome.
Next is Senator Kai Kahele.
Thank you for the question. We are in an unprecedented economic crisis, and in times like this, the people that are the most vulnerable are often hurt the most. One of the programs that Travis mentioned was the Medicaid Home and Community-Based Services Program, which is absolutely critical for thousands of individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that is why the funding that funds those programs, like Medicaid and Medicare, are so absolutely critical to those communities. And so, I can make a pledge right now that I will oppose any cuts to Medicaid or Medicare, unlike the Republican-led Trump administration that proposed $1.6 trillion in cuts to Medicare, $451 billion, and Medicaid, $920 billion. That was before the COVID-19 pandemic.
Oh, come on, Joe. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Let's go to our next U.S. House candidate, Michelle Tippins.
Aloha, Michelle here. Got me. I really like the idea of looking at our economy more dynamically. I think that a lot of us have really recognized the value in that currently. But I really specifically want to address, there's been many comments about how federal funds are needed. There are no federal funds, you guys. We are over $25 trillion in debt at the federal level. We can't make money that's not there. We are in debt to so many other countries. Instead of our government passing raises for themselves in a year when the bulk of our country is out of work and looking for help, we should be cutting back on our programs so that there are less man hours being paid out, where people can still live, but they're not living extravagantly so that money can be spread out better. We need to address the issues at a more community-based level. We need to find 501c money and get those monies that are granted by big money. Thank you.
Aloha. Next is Joe Akana.
Aloha again, Joe here. Yeah, there's a couple things that I'd like to add on. They've mentioned several times about what the federal has been able or not been able to do. Let's take a look at this COVID bill that was just turned down. They wanted to add in a cashless bail system. mass prison release, including violent criminals, nationwide balloting, voter ID ban, stimulus checks to illegal immigrants. There was a lot of reasonings why that bill was not funded. Now let's take a look at what they've actually been able to do with the funding. The state received over $9 billion and they spent roughly about $7 billion in the process, but they still have roughly $1.5 billion, sorry, and they haven't figured out a spend plan for it. Why not? That's what you guys are supposed to be doing. That's what the state legislature is supposed to be doing, and they're not doing that. When I was in the military and when I was in the civil service, I was able to bring back $32 million from the U.S. government in order to continue our mission and our mission awareness from one of the militaries in the Pacific Command. Mahalo.
Hi, let's go now to Ron Burris.
Hi, Ron Burris here. Aloha. Thanks for the question, Travis. First thing we need to do is obviously we need a new funding package, but we need to fix the mechanisms on how that funding is passed on to everybody in all the states that need this help. And certainly the home care system is one of the things that would need some of this funding. But the first bill left in a thing in the law that let the Secretary of the Treasury, Steve Mnuchin, control the purse strings and how this money was distributed. And he actually sat on $1 trillion for quite some time before he distributed it. This is corruption at the highest level. How that got through in the bill and the Democrats didn't see it, I don't know. But these mechanisms need to be fixed. And there's also in Hawaii, it was the PPP program, the Paycheck Protection Program, where the gentleman misappropriated $12 million of that federal funding. These mechanisms that we have in place, we have to have watchdogs and audits before anything can happen to get that money to the right people to where it needs to go. I think Joe was touching on that. Mahalo.
Aloha, Alohilani here. Over the years, MDA has focused on these areas for people with disabilities: employment, transportation, healthcare, education, accessible and affordable housing, and mental wellness. With the onset of COVID-19, suicidal risk factors such as anxiety and depression are rising. Suicide continues to be a concern for our community, with one suicide every 2 days in the state of Hawaii. What ideas do you have that could be implemented to help us as a community from losing our loved ones to suicide? Let's start with State Senate candidate, Christy Kajiwara Guzman. You have 45 seconds. Your time starts when you speak. Mahalo.
Aloha. So for me, I firmly believe that strengthening the family unit is a big deal here in Hawaii. And a lot of it goes back to our cultural and just our beliefs and what we do. You know, a lot of the kids today grew up in a secular world where there's no belief in a higher power, whatever, or whomever that may be. And for me personally, my family, we have, come a long way through being heavily involved in our church. And they've helped us, through times like I did share earlier. My son was a special needs student, and through all of his psychologists and psychiatrists and all the needs and the things that we system we got actually through our church. So I firmly believe that everybody needs somebody.
Mahalo. Next is Joe Akana.
Joe Akana here. Yes, as far as suicide prevention, that is one of those items that they have found even within the vets and the vets' homes, that there's approximately 26 vets a day that are committing suicide. The biggest issue we would have to deal with as vets is dealing with psychological issues, which you just discussed, dealing with their PTSD issues, and also just helping them to get into the programs where they're preventing the suicide. The second issue, especially if you're looking at vets, would be homelessness. Right now, from what I understand, it's taking approximately 11 days to get a vet off the street and into a home, which would help accommodate, especially if they're having any type of mental or medical issues. That's
Ellen here. Let's go now to Ron Burris.
Hi, Ron Burris. Thank you. Yeah, the despair and the hopelessness index, the way everybody feels, is really off the charts lately. And I'm sure all of us, everyone on this panel included, has felt some despair points in their time recently. It's a very difficult time to get through. And I guess the best way to help solve it is to give hope to some people again, to all of us. As a collective, we've kind of lost our way in our political spectrum. We've become more of a fascist society than I ever thought we would be. And we have to turn this battleship in the bathtub quickly and get people some hope again so we can press on to the things that make us happy in our lives.
Next is Senator Kai Kahele.
Thank you for the question. You know, the way I like to think about it is what are all the different things we can do to essentially create and build a better life for Americans with disabilities and address suicide, you know, throughout our communities. And so, you know, like Ron said, we need to address homelessness and allow people that are disabled so that they can live independently. We need to provide financial security and ban sub-minimum wages in our disabled community. We need to protect them from physical harm. And finally, we need to do things like pass the Disability Integration Act, which will make people with disabilities.
Let's go now to Michelle Tippins.
Aloha, Michelle here. What I'd truly like to see, as someone who's been touched very personally by suicide, my fiance hung himself in 2018. I would really like to see things like marijuana being available to people who need it. I know that might sound really weird for some people, but I run a nonprofit called the Hawaii Veterans Cannabis Alliance that targets ending suicide for veterans and PTSD sufferers. And we do that through healing that's available through that plant. There's many aspects to that, including, as many farmers know, the interaction that you have with the plant when it grows. And that can be expanded even for vegetable growth. It gives you food. So thank you for your time.
Thank you. Let's go now to State House candidate Teresa Kapaku.
Mahalo, this is Teresa. I agree with Michelle that farming and being with plants is very healthy, and also community service. I believe that adding more community programs where people can get engaged to empower their own communities, especially through farming, especially through community-based farming, where we can get back to roots, support each other as our own community, and so that we can elevate each other, knowing that at the end of the day, as long as we have each other and we have food, that's really all we need is love and food. And so let's grow it together. And I think that that's a huge part of it. A huge part of the therapy is community service and growing. Mahalo.
Aloha. Next is Representative Lindy Coit.
Hi, thank you for the question. You know, while we've been tasked at, in general, of suicide happening all around us, the economy, you know, as a third generation farmer, that picture I've been looking at all night in Joe Akana's Prince Kohio, the intention behind it was rehabilitation. And as one of the very few farmers, Native Hawaiian, that is out there growing food, this is what gets our people back thinking. When we make sure the production of food comes to futurity, that is when we can say to ourselves, we have done our job. It prevents suicide. The statistics show that it has helped many of our veterans out there, and it can help many of our disability that they're challenged. And I say exactly what Christy says, it's an ability that you have to complete the process. So mahalo.
Thank you. Let's go now to Travis Gilstrand.
Travis Gilstrand here. I would, touching on what Michelle said, I definitely agree with that. And I believe that terpene research is the future of health. I'd also like to see more psychedelic research for PTSD and microdosing. Also, we can't overlook the fact of nutrition. Manganese, magnesium deficiencies definitely affect mental health, and nobody talks about that. Also, we cannot be pumping ourselves with GMO food and crops, because that's definitely not going to help. I think that's a big problem. Also, enzyme research. Enzyme deficiencies contribute to mental illnesses. Also, hemp, endocannabinoid system, all that. Nobody really talks about that, and that's what we need. Every mammal has the endocannabinoid system in them. So I would love to see more of that, and I would do more research on that. Thank you.
Aloha, Representative Angus McKelvey.
Thank you so much. You know, I think that this underscores what I was saying earlier about the need for us to support our nonprofits. Our nonprofits, these groups that work with the community on outreach, are so critical. I mean, it's the first thing is knowing that there's somebody there to talk to. The first thing is knowing that there is another solution, and making sure that our nonprofits who do outreach in the community are supported are critical, because they're going to be the first line of help and support for our veterans and for our families and everybody who's just struggling, especially with COVID-19. This is something that really, we didn't give any operating to grant and aids last session. In this session, I'm fully supporting and hoping we can find the means to do the operating for the grant and aids for our nonprofits who do work, especially in suicide outreach. Thank you again, Laura.
Aloha. Next is Representative Justin Woodson.
Thank you for the question. About 3 years ago, there was a young man who was 19 years old, and he hung himself in a tree, and that tree was located between Kahului L and Maui High School. And kids actually arrived to campus that day, and they witnessed that. So that was a dark day. And so we tried to work with the schools first and foremost to make sure that we are able to identify those kids that actually need help, because we know that proportionately there's a significant amount of individuals that commit suicide that are under the age of 21. And also there is a consortium of service providers and professionals here on Maui that work specifically with this issue. And the legislature was able to appropriate to support their efforts that all the Big Island.
Aloha. Next is Representative Tina Wildberger.
Thank you, Tina Wildberger speaking. In addition to the pre-COVID challenges we have with high rates of suicide among our teens and veterans, we now have increased domestic violence. We have issues with human trafficking. So as we move forward, trying to support and bolster our most vulnerable, we're going to have to fund groups like Imua Alliance and Ho'ola Napua, who are doing this tough work of intervening and rescuing people who are on the brink of hopelessness. We're also going to have to do something about mass evictions. If we aren't going to be able to start our economy and get people working, we're going to have a problem with increased homelessness and despair. Thank you.
Hi, Ellen speaking. The next question is, the state of Hawaii received $863 million as part of the coronavirus relief fund from the United States Treasury to assist with the COVID-19 response and recovery efforts. How would you like to see that money spent, and on whom? Let's start with Senator Kai Kahele.
Thank you for the question. There are so many needs in our community right now, but the most important thing is that we can continue to provide money into the pockets of Hawaii's working families so that they can pay their rent, that they can buy their food, that they can buy their medication, especially for people that have lost their jobs or have been involuntarily furloughed. You know, in the state Senate, working with my colleagues here, we passed a million bill to provide additional plus of unemployment funds to people that had lost their jobs, and also to housing credits that can help people pay their rent, and also to help small businesses that have had to close because of the pandemic.
Let's go now to Michelle Tippins. You have 60 seconds. The time starts when you begin.
Ellen, this is Roxanne. We're actually at 45 seconds for folks, just so they know.
Okay, sorry. You have 45 seconds, Michelle.
Mahalo, aloha, Michelle here. What I would like to see with the money is employment benefits. I would like to see us facilitating a paycheck for people going back to work. I think that instead of shutting down our economy, we should be educating people and letting them know what measures they should take and letting them elect to take them. I really just want to see people being able to go back to work. Getting a handout from the government is not going to help people stop committing suicide. It makes people feel like a burden on their community. And not everybody, many veterans will refuse to do it. They would rather starve. So I think it's very important to start getting paychecks back into people's pockets. And I think that money could do that. Mahalo.
Aloha. Next is Joe Akana.
Aloha, Joe Akana. Yes, I think the most important thing we can really focus on is that the draconian lockdowns that have been imposed on this state basically force people to remove their hopes and their dreams that people had, whether it be businesses, whether it been personal efforts, going to jobs, working, that kind of stuff. Our people are resilient, but we need to provide them with the tools and the programs to succeed. If we don't give them that, then what are they going to do? We need to open our economy. Exactly what Michelle had just said a second ago. We need to open the economy. We need to get this place moving. We need to streamline business loan processes for the SBA, through the SBA for businesses to get those businesses. We've lost over 1,600 jobs just because of the COVID and what's been ongoing. And we need to open this economy. Mahalo.
Thank you. Let's go now to Ron Burris.
Aloha, Ron Burris. As far as allocating those funds, Ellen, you were asking how to allocate those funds. I'd like to see the most vulnerable of us get those, obviously. And also, as Kai was mentioning, to working families, they need to have those. But in negotiating the banks need to have a moratorium on collecting their mortgages so landlords aren't evicting people, and commercial building owners are not having to throw out people who are trying to work under the COVID restrictions, and trying to have something juice in the economy. So I think a moratorium on all mortgage holders would be some place to start, and have those funds allocated to the working families again, and to those most vulnerable of us. Thank you. Mahalo.
Next is State House Representative Lindy Coit.
I definitely believe that, having our businesses be given funds to help them get by and have the employees come back is a must. This goes back to suicide. These people are struggling. We need to somehow subsidize these businesses so that they can in turn get our employees back on the job and working. I believe funds should be increased at the budget level for agriculture because we need food. The importation of food is way too high, and we need people to start growing our food. Until then, if we're not healthy, we're not safe, and businesses cannot operate, and small businesses, I'm talking about, we're going to cripple and we're going to just crash this entire state at the rate we're going. We are in the middle of the Pacific Ocean, and somehow we got to get together and figure this out.
Hi, this is Ellen. Let's go to Teresa Kapaku.
Mahalo, this is Teresa. I would prioritize the dollars to go toward infrastructure to help small businesses in our communities, to create and bolster the small business community within our micro communities, such as the availability of slaughterhouses, commercial kitchens, and processing facilities, bottling facilities. They say that you can give a man a fish or you can teach him to fish. So I would like to see us teach them to fish, give them the fishing poles so that we can create food, much like what Lynn was saying. Mahalo.
Mahalo. This is Alohilani. Next is Representative Tina Wildberger.
Mahalo, this is Tina Wildberger speaking. We've got short-term issues and then longer-term issues. In short-term issues, let's keep it simple: food and shelter. We don't want to have a mass eviction crisis that burgeons our homeless population. We don't want to see Keiki and Kupuna go hungry. So this money should be driven toward providing food and shelter, whether that's rent and mortgage moratorium or supplemental payments. We all know the unemployment system was a fiasco and was not suited to address this crisis. We should have done a reverse tax payment through DOE tax. They have our information, they have our bank accounts. It would have been perfectly simple to just reverse tax everybody. But keeping it simple, food and shelter. Mahalo.
Let's go now to Angus McKelvey.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the bad thing about the CARES Act money, the 800 million, is the Kingdom of Oahu, good old Honolulu, got over $500 million of it. So there was a lot of stuff that should have been, could have been done from Maui County and the other neighbor islands that unfortunately couldn't be done. Hopefully, working with our congressional delegation, when we do the HEROES Act, we can give the state more control over these funds so we can allocate them in a much more fair thing. As been said before, we need to get these into the hands of working people and the businesses, a state PPP program. Also, the governor is supposed to roll out $100 million of CARES money for mortgage relief fund, I believe, next week. We do need to keep pressing him to make that a reality. And also to extend these relief packages for commercial rents for our small businesses, many who will face acceleration charges that could wipe them out as soon as Mahalo.
Let's go now to Travis Gilstrand.
Travis Gilstrand here. I think we need to really help the small businesses and protect the most human basic needs, which again is shelter and food, clean food at that. I think the nonprofits and other organizations who have completely depleted their funds or emergency funds on the COVID pandemic need to be reimbursed. And we cannot forget our farmers. And you see the food lines, we need to support our nonprofits. Mahalo.
Next is Representative Justin Woodson.
Thank you, Aloha. So we are not out of this situation, far from it. We are not out of the woods. I would prioritize funding for our most vulnerable people because we know that they have been disproportionately negatively impacted by this pandemic that we're in. I would also extend unemployment insurance, and I would also echo increasing the plus up. That is defined as money on top of what normally is provided through unemployment insurance. And lastly, just in closing, I would also provide additional funding for our small businesses, because if they're not being supported, then they cannot open up. And if they cannot open up, then families are not able to provide.
Mahalo. Aloha, this is Alohilani speaking. Did we get you, Christy? Christy Kajiwara Guzman, please.
Aloha. So I totally agree with everyone saying here, but I just wanted to throw out a couple numbers. On September 30th, KHON2 News did a report that showed the allocations of funds for the COVID relief monies that the state of Hawaii got. And last on that list was Department of Ag Farmer Assistance. If everybody holds true to what they're saying, and to go back to what Rep. DeCoit was saying earlier, it's great that we have slaughterhouses. It's great that we have everything else going on, food distributions and everything else going on. But you need to support your local farmers, because we're the ones who produce the food. You can't have a slaughterhouse and not have cattle going into it. So there again, you know, I'm on that list of frustrated farmers that have not been able to get rid of animals and stuff. So I really think that we need to go back to the beginning on this one and look at where our food comes from.
Mahalo. Aloha, this is Alohilani speaking. Let's check in with our audience one last time. Zoom audience, please respond to these poll questions. We have 2 questions for you. The first is, did you find the forum helpful? Yes or no? Number 2, do you feel better informed? Yes or no? The countdown begins. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Close the poll.
Ellen, Aloha Ilani, this is Roxanne. You're a little fast for me. I haven't got the poll up yet. Just give me a second.
Okay. All right. So again, the poll is, did you find the forum helpful? Yes or no? Do you feel better informed? Yes or no? And we're going to wait. All right. I'm going to go on to say, you know, as a reminder, oh, there it is. Our poll came up. We have 100% of people said yes, the forum was very helpful. Do you feel better informed? 92% said yes. So there we go. That's awesome. Thank you, all of you, for being here and participating. As a reminder, Hawaii is mailing ballots to every registered voter. Maui County ballots are being mailed October 8th. Election day is on Tuesday, November 3rd, 2020. All ballots must be received by the clerk's office no later than 7 p.m. on election day. Go to www.electionshawaii.gov for more information. Mahalo.
Here. Okay, candidates, tell us one more time why we should vote for you. You have 20 seconds. Your time starts when you begin to speak. Let's start with Travis Gilstrand from District 10.
Travis Gilstrand here. As ballots start getting mailed out tomorrow, I hope that you do your research and you vote for not only for, thank you.
Aloha. State House candidates next. Representative Angus McKelvey, please.
Thank you so much. Travis is right. Get out and vote. We need your participation to make this democracy work. You've seen the numbers. We're chasing a $4 billion deficit. Our nonprofits and our disabled community have a lot to face. And I will hope for your support because we'll be there to fight for you. I think that what we went through in 2008 gives us well-grounded to be able to take the challenges on head first. So thank you again. Aloha.
Aloha. Next is Representative Tina Wildberger.
Aloha, Tina Wildberger speaking. Thank you all so much for this opportunity. I'm running for re-election for State House, South Maui, District 11, Kihei Wailea McKenna, and I'm running to continue the work of bringing responsive and accountable and transparent government to all of Hawaii. Mahalo.
Let's go now to Teresa Kapaku.
Mahalo, this is Teresa. I'm asking you to vote for Teresa Kapaku this November because I believe that together we can create well-paying, stable jobs while simultaneously taking care of the land, our people. Let's transfer the wealth from foreign development and off-island corporations in favor of our local family-owned businesses.
Next is Representative Lindy Coit.
Thank you and mahalo. Of course, get out and vote. I am Lindy Coit, running for re-election for District 13. I am a family-owned business and a farmer, third-generation Hawaiian homestead farmer. And I encourage you all to get out and vote. Check out our website at votelindycoit.com, and you can see all that we have accomplished and learn about who we actually are.
Mahalo. Next is Representative Justin Woodson.
Aloha, I'm Justin Woodson. I represent Central Maui, District 9. It's definitely a all hands on deck moment. So please get out and vote. There is much to do, from affordable housing, education. We have challenges with environment, obviously, taking care of our seniors. The list goes on. So it's going to require all of us to work together and make those incremental steps, and all of our lives are better. For consideration. Aloha.
Let's go now to State Senate candidate Christy Guzman.
Aloha mai once again. Thank you for hosting us this evening. And like everyone else said here, get out and vote. It's the only way to let your voice be heard. A couple reasons to vote for me if you're in our Senate District 5, Central Maui. I am a mother. I am a caregiver. I, been there, done that, pretty much with all of the topics that we've touched on this evening. So real life, real experience. That's what matters. Thanks for your support. Mahalo.
Aloha. Next is U.S. House Congressional District 2, Senator Kai Kahele.
Hey, mahalo. We only have 4 seats in the United States Congress, and it's time we send a neighbor island resident to Congress to represent Maui. I've lived on Hawaii Island almost my entire life. I understand your challenges. I humbly ask for your vote, and I'm proud to be your voice in Washington, D.C. in 2021. Mahalo.
Let's go now to Michelle Tippins.
Aloha, Michelle here. I just want to revisit something everybody's been saying. Get out and vote. Over 70% of our population does not vote, if you include the non-registered and the registered who don't vote. And it doesn't surprise me that 80% of our residents are unhappy with our government. So I encourage you to watch these debates on YouTube, get familiar with the candidates, and cast your vote. We are the majority. This island is the majority. Mahalo.
Mahalo. Next is Joe Akana.
Aloha, Joe Akana here. I have 3 core values that I will always stand for. They are my faith, my family, and my freedom. And those are things I'll never go away from. We need to continue to stand for those freedoms because if we don't, we're gonna fall for anything. Reason you should get out and vote for me is exactly that. It's time for a change, and it's time to make a difference in Hawaii.
And last but certainly not least, Ron Burris and his frogs.
Hi, Ron Burris here. I respectfully request that you give my candidacy serious consideration for this House seat for District 2 in Hawaii. And please don't get out and vote and expose your risk to COVID. Vote by mail. Stay at home, vote by mail. Thank you very much. Mahalo.
Aloha Lani speaking. Mahalo candidates for participating in our first virtual forum. We have asked you some very important questions that will help us determine who gets our vote. Everyone, please remember to vote. It's very important. Mahalo.
Ellen here. Mahalo to all the MDA members who helped plan this forum. Good luck and see you next year. Mahalo.
This is Alohilani. Good luck. Wear your mask and be safe. Aloha.
Aloha.
Aloha, everyone.